Way up high in the Syrie peak where the yellow pines grow tall, Sandy Bob and Buster Jiggs had a roundup camp last fall. They took their horses and their running irons and maybe a dog or two, and they allowed they brand all the long-eared calves that came within their view. Well, many a long-eared gogie that didn't hush up by day had his long ears whittled and his old hide scorched in a most artistic way. We have to thank Prescott's very own Gail Gardner for those beautiful words. The first verse from his classic Western poem, Ein and Not, in The Devil's Tale. My name is Stuart Roseworth, and I'm the executive director here at Sharlot Hall Museum. I was born along Route 66 in Santa Monica, California, with surf and sand in my hair and a dream of being a cowboy. So it is more than appropriate to open tonight's celebration with George Bippen's classic cowboy poem about cowboying in Yavapai County, Arizona. We gather here at Sharlot Hall Museum, a Prescott landmark that has served the community since 1928. It's home to the Territorial Governor's Mansion, built in 1864. Just a short 2 blocks from the historic Yavapai County Plaza, Whiskey Row, and all that history made down there in the center of town. Sharlot Hall Museum is the heartbeat of history in Prescott, where for more than a century our culture, heritage, community, Western art, sculpture, literature, film, photography, and music have been celebrated. If you have any doubt about the Prescott community's passion for the art, just look to the Rough Rider statue in the Courthouse Plaza. Solon Borglum was the sculptor, brother of Mount Rushmore's Gutzon Borglum, and a renowned artist in his own right. Sharlot Hall and Kate Corey both were well known for their respective accomplishments in literature and art. And Tom Mix and the Sealing Film Company made Prescott the capital of Arizona filmmaking in the 1910s. Now, nearly a century later, this fall, we hope to see you all back here for a very special day, because we will be the beneficiary of our very own statue of Sharlot Hall herself. Statue by Heather Johnson-Deary, a local artist here in Prescott. It will add to the public art and helps define and make our community a Western art center of Arizona. Tonight we celebrate Route 66 with the 66 kids who've grown up on the Mother Road. Rob Mathias on guitar. Randy Woods on bass. Danny the Black Cat Cowboy. Danny Romero. You never know when you're going to see Danny up in Seligman or Williams or down at the Palace with his partner Randy. Jack Alves, Phoenix, Arizona. Jack's been playing up and down Route 66 and all across the country. Bob Boze Bell for a long time. We're going to celebrate the Mother Road tonight. It has inspired nearly a century of art, literature, film, and music, just like Sharlot Hall herself. And speaking of artists who were inspired by the Mother Road, it is time to invite our host and band leader, executive editor of True West Magazine, Bob Boze Bell, to the center stage.
Couple of things. One is we only play together once a year, whether we need it or not. And the last time we played was at May 24th, 2024 at the Elk Theater up the street. How many people were there? You were there. Well, we can't play that song again, okay? Dang, there goes half our show right there. You guys were there? We're going to have some fun. The thing that we love the most is that we grew up in this country. And for myself, my mother and father met during World War II. I have the Japanese to thank for that. Because my father was lived on a farm north of Thompson, Iowa, way up north by Mason City, if you know where that is. And the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, and he got drafted. Okay, now my mother, she came from an old ranching family out of New Mexico. My grandfather was born in Weed, New Mexico in 1888. And that's Billy the Kid country, if you're wondering. And my mother was born in Shakespeare, New Mexico in 1925. And then he went bust. He bought a ranch in 1929. Not a good idea. He went bust, and he moved to Kingman, where he had worked on a ranch with the legendary Tap Duncan at the Darman Bar Ranch in northern Mojave County. And so when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, they established a Kingman Air Base there in a town of 3,000 people. I think there was 5,000 people in the entire county, fifth largest county in the country, with 5,000 people in the entire county. And they brought in 10,000 GIs. And my dad told the story. I just used to love this story. He went to basic training in Mississippi. They put him on a troop train, and he got off that troop train with a duffel bag in downtown Kingman, Arizona. And they're marching them down the center of the street, and it's his birthday, so it's August, okay? And he says, and I quote, "I will never come back to this hellhole." Well, a funny thing happened. My mother, who was one of the guest girls, beautiful woman, and she was dating lieutenants and captains, according to my aunt. My mother never told me this. My Aunt Jean did. And she was dating captains and lieutenants, and she was engaged to the cattle king of Mojave County, and she went out on a blind date. And when she met him, he told her his name, and my name is Alan P. Bell. I'm from Thompson, Iowa. And he said, "What is your name?" And she said, "Guess," because her name was Bobby Guess. And he said, "I don't know, Mildred." So she canceled the wedding, and she married this buck private from Thompson, Iowa. And they moved back to Iowa after the war, and where I was born in Forest City in 1946. But that began a yearly journey to Kingman and back. And then when we moved here, my father ran a gas station in Peach Springs, Arizona, and eventually came down and ran Al Bell's Flying A. This is one of those super bumper places. And when the show's over, I've got a book out here. There's pictures of my dad's gas station. You can check it out. One of those classic places with 150 light bulbs of an arrow going like this. Like come in. And so I was 9 years old, and my dad said, "You've got to put that kid to work. He's getting in trouble. You need to get him to work." And I don't know if you can remember this, but in those days, they were talking about 1956, 57, 4 guys attacked every car. They were wearing white suits with their name over their heart. They had a bow tie on, their name on there. And when the cars would come in, and it was like they had these rubber tubes that go across, and when a car came across it, they'd ring. And so go ding, 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 ding. And 4 guys would come out of the lube room in stepping like this. And they'd come out, and the first guy would say, "Fill it with flight fuel," because we had names for our gas then. You put this gas in your car, you're going to go to the moon, man. The second guy would wash all the windshield, all the windows, all the way around, the wing windows and everything. The third guy would check all the tires and tell the passenger and the driver, "You're about to go across the deadliest desert in America. The Death Valley and that whole Mojave Desert. And I need to check your tires." And so then, he would even check the spare. He would open up the trunk. And then the fourth guy would go under the hood and cut all the fan belts. This was Kingman, dude. I was the fifth guy. I didn't have a uniform. I wore my Little League cap. I was on the Odd Fellows Yankees, right field, weak arm. And I was the fifth guy, and I would come out and I said, do you have any thermoses or jugs that you'd like iced? I'm here to ice them for free, because nobody had AC in their cars. And they had to have a jug going across the desert. And so I would ice jugs all summer. And I remember I discovered two things. One is Texans tipped the best. Teachers were the worst. But I come from a family of teachers, so I know that. But anyway, I saved up all summer to buy a book, the biographical album of Western gunfighters, that I saw as an ad in True West magazine. And it's so ironic that in 1999, two crazy friends of mine went to Stillwater, Oklahoma, paid too much for a dying magazine we loved, and brought it to Arizona, this is our 26th year. Now, so every August, my father would put my mother and I in a 57 Ford late model Ford, and we would drive backwards on Route 66 all the way to Iowa to visit the family farm so we could talk about crops and eat 5 times a day. Now keep in mind, I'm a 9-year-old kid, right? We're eastbound on Route 66. I'm standing on the transmission hump, and I'm looking out that window, and there'd be these signs, and they'd go all the way across an entire mesa. And it would say, gas, 19.9. Yes, 19.9 cents a gallon, okay? Clean restrooms. World's largest buffalo. Hey, Dad, can we stop? We get into New Mexico, it gets worse, live Indians, I guess as opposed to another kind. I don't know. Come on, Dad, let's stop. He looks at me over the top and he goes, we got to make time, kid. And like I said, we're eastbound. We're meeting all the people going to California, to Disneyland, to the beach. They got inner tubes on their car. They're all laughing. The girls are wearing bikinis, and we're Norwegians going to Iowa. So I wasn't going to put up with this. I was pretty precocious. I was the only child, could you guess yet? And we were having our 5th meal of the day at the Swensons, and they always begin like this. Oh, Helga, don't bring anything out. We just ate down. Oh, okay, all right. Here's a 3-course dinner. Okay, that's the Norwegian way. Okay. So I go to my dad. They're all, by the way, in the living room talking about crops. And so I go, Dad, you got to give me one place to stop on the way back. Okay, give me one place. And he said, well, I will, kid, if we have time. You allowed that story was going to end. So I hatched a devious plan. We got to Santa Rosa, New Mexico on Route 66, and we came out of the Club Cafe, and we got in the car, and I looked on a map, and it showed that the place that I wanted to go to was the Longhorn Museum, 43 miles east of Albuquerque, New Mexico, south side of the road. The Longhorn Museum, over 1,000 items on the Old West. I saw it as we shot by there, and my dad wouldn't stop. And so, well, here's what I did. And this is, I don't know if this is a secret, but I'm about to tell you something that most people don't know. Fathers have a weak spot. It runs from their ear down to their shoulder. And so I'm standing on the transmission hump, and I started poking him right there. You promised me, and he's passing 15 trucks at a time, and he's trying to shake me off. And finally, I poked him so much, he pulled that 57 Ford into that parking lot. He put it in park. He looked at me and he said, Kid, you got 15 minutes. This is the most precious 15 minutes of my life, okay? And so I went in that museum, and my grandfather, Carl Marvin Bell, his father, had given me a shiny quarter, and he said, buy something on the way home. So I was in a buying mood, and I'm looking around, and there's guns and shaps and cow horns, and I see a flintlock rifle behind the counter, and I go, how much for that flintlock rifle, sir? $100. I'll give you a quarter. I was 9, okay? I hadn't figured anything out yet. So now I'm looking around and I'm going, what else do I need? And I look over and I see this photo. It says an authentic photo of Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. And I'm going, I knew enough because I read True West Magazine. I'm going, wait a minute, didn't Pat Garrett kill Billy the Kid? He's got his hand on his shoulder. I go, how much for this authentic photo, sir? A quarter. I bought that picture. Now, my dad hustles me out to the car, puts me in the back because he's got to get back out on Route 66 and catch all the trucks that got by. It's going to rip in the jail. So we go shooting through Central Avenue in Albuquerque, out the other side, past Laguna. We go past Cabero, Sanders, into Arizona, Holbrook, Winslow, Flagstaff, don't forget Winona. And my parents are worried about me because I'm a talkative guy. My mom says, are you all right? I said, I'm studying this authentic photo of Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, man. I get home, I put that photo up on my walls before I go to school and catch the school bus. I go, I'm going to have a hat like that. I'm going to have a coat like that. I just couldn't be more excited. Well, lo and behold, my mother had to go to Desert Drugs in downtown Kingman. And while she was talking to Madge about a prescription, I ran up to the front of the store and bought the latest issue of True West Magazine. I went out to the car, and I'm reading it, and on page 34, I discovered the photo I bought for a quarter that's authentic is a fake! It's taken at a rodeo parade in Santa Fe. Somebody said, hey, you look like Billy, get up there. I am so PO'd now. It gets worse. My parents like to dance. They love to go to the American Legion in downtown Kingman. They left me at my grandmother's house on a school night so they could go dancing. And my grandmother, who I love dearly, she's the one from New Mexico, she told me how we were related to outlaws. And I love that. We would be in family situations, I go, we're related to outlaws. Bigfoot Wallace, John Wesley Hardin. My mother's like, tone it down a little bit. She heard, we're related to Charlie Manson. So my grandmother wanted to talk and show me pictures, which I love, but my favorite TV show was coming on, and I had to see it. And I said, Grandma, can I turn the TV on? She said, yeah, go ahead. So I ran over and I turned the TV on just in time to hear this song. And if you're old enough, I see a couple of you out there, I want you to sing it with me for the younger folks here. All right? Wyatt Earp, Wyatt Earp, brave, courageous, and bold. Long live his fame, and long live his glory, and long may his story be told. There's an old guy right there. There's less and less of us. Have you noticed that? It's like, I used to sing this the whole audience. Now it's like, there's a guy as old as I am. Well, anyway, for all you youngsters out there who never saw the show, it starred Hugh O'Brien as Wyatt Earp, and he cleaned up every cow town in the West. He drank milk. He never swore. He had a pistol with a barrel that would go all the way to the ground. He could write his name in the dirt. I loved the guy. I loved the show. I loved Hugh O'Brien. In the middle of that song, I saw my grandmother's finger come out from an armchair, and she said, and I quote, Wyatt Earp was the biggest jerk who ever walked away. And I'm looking at the TV, right, which never lies, and my grandmother, and I'm going, wow, somebody's not telling the truth. And those two events set me off on my path, which I'm still on, which is trying to find out the true stories about the Old West and why we celebrate these guys. Now, while I was doing this, while I was becoming the person that I am today, the country was going through a difficult time. Sound familiar? And country, which is growing up there, I went to dances on the Big Sandy with Bill Blake, my best friend in school, and it was a dirt road. It was a dirt road from Kingman to Wickenburg. Okay, you know why? You know why it was a dirt road? Because these people in Prescott wanted us to drive down to Ashbrook and shop with them, and they controlled the highway department, and they wouldn't let us have it. So it was dirt road, okay? All right? I didn't mean to make that little sidebar in there, but I think you needed to hear that. Anyway, some things were happening on the road that didn't become apparent at first, but it was kind of ominous. Kind of ominous. Radio stations, that was the only place you get music between towns. So you'd be going between Kingman, Sligman, Ashford, Winslow, and all you get was and maybe a little hog prices. So we were traveling up through Four Corners because we started cutting off at 66 because it was too dangerous going to Iowa. So we started going up through Durango. And I remember getting close there, and I heard that tune, and I thought, wow, something's happening. This is really strange. And of course, the conflict really, really hit at country dances, and that's where things really kind of hit the fan.
It's rolling around the bend. I can see the sunshine. I don't know the wind. Stuck in bowls from prison. Gonna get dragging on. Oh, I hear the whistle blowing down the Winoda. Well, they gave him his old mine around Virginia. She's way behind him. It ain't 38, it's old 97. Put her in the Spanish hotel.
You can dance if you want to. I dare you. So, the country music was the king where I was growing up, but now there was this menacing thing that was coming from back east called rock and roll. And it got pretty heavy, but still, I was invited to a Malay dance. I was 14 years old. My mom got me a monkey suit. It was a hip suit. And then I got asked out on the date. I would have never asked a girl. Michelle Gilpin called me. Our phone number in Kingman. Isn't this funny? I can't remember my password. I've had to rename my dog 3 times. But our phone number in Kingman in 1958 was Blue 549. And I've never forgotten it. And anyway, Michelle Gilpin called me, and she said, I want to invite you to a dance. The D. Malays are having a dance at the Elks Hall, and I'd like you to be my date. And I said, okay. And so my parents could put me through a crash course. Oh, yeah. To do that two-step that guys always do, and look so stupid doing it. They're too cheap to go to get real dance lessons in Trinidad. And they think the 2 steps is going to provide them with whatever they need for the rest of their lives. And none of them are right. And here was what weird. I parents drove me to her house on Ricka Drive, I might say. And the father came out with an 8mm camera with floodlights to film me putting a corsage on the dress right there. You get down to the dance, it gets worse, you know. There's high school kids there. And they drove there, you know. But they're looking out the window and they go, look, here comes Robert Bell. His mother and father drove him. And are letting him out. They had these little booklets called the dance card. And they had a pencil. Not if you've ever heard of this. It's a little dance card. And so my date, Michelle, says, I want to dance with the older guys. Of course she did. They knew more than this. So I had to go around to these guys who I was scared to death of, drivers, and ask if they'd like to try to dance with me. And so I got the book filled up, and then the third dance, I had to dance with Mary Jane Rutherford, who in high heels, well, let's just put it this way, I came to her sternum. So I'm looking at that crinoline rack, and I couldn't have been more scared if I was on Normandy Beach. Anyway, I survived that. Started to leave, and that was when things were just so, I don't know, you look back on it now, it was so sweet. It seemed kind of innocent, it probably wasn't, but it seems that way to me. And then, what happened next?
Marshall Trimble.
That's right. As I mentioned, I grew up in a small town, okay? Now, Marshall Trimble, who co-wrote the book, The 66 Kids with Me, he grew up in Ash Fork. Ash Fork is so small, they had driver's ed and sex ed in the same car. That's small. Here's what Marshall had to say about small towns.
Small towns are easy to define.
You know you're in a small town when you dial a wrong telephone number and wind up talking to someone for 30 minutes anyway. Or when you move across town and don't have to leave a forwarding address. In a small town, when you have an emergency, all you have to do is step out on the front porch and holler 911. And first responders arrive immediately. A small town is where everybody knows who the father of the pups is, and everybody whose checks are good, and whose husband aren't. Bob, I think you've got a few stories about Ash Fork and Kingman.
Well, yes, it was pretty crazy that, but things started to get really crazy. And by 1960, I graduated in 65, and I went to the University of Arizona. And when I got to the University of Arizona, there were all these hipsters from back east. And they were in the fraternity, so they were the, hip guys. And they had a kind of bizarre clothing proclivity. They would wear yellow pants, I'm not making this up, yellow pants, penny loafers, and no socks. Yep.
Doing that now?
Are they doing it again? I'm gonna sue them. Because I broke down about 6 months later, and I started wearing penny loafers, no socks, and yellow pants. But I made one mistake. I went home to Kingman. And when you're in a small town, you think, I know the bad guys, and the bad guys leave us alone. Isn't that a lyric to a Beach Boys song? And so Steve Burford arrived over there, and we both had on penny loafers with no socks and yellow pants, and we had our dates, and we drove to the fairgrounds because there was a country western band playing there. And we went to the door, and we looked in, and it was a little rough for us, and we thought, nah, I don't think so. Let's leave. And when we got to our car, I turned around, and 3 cowboys wanted to kick my ass. And I got to tell you, those guys could have kicked my ass. I didn't like that. I got back to Phoenix. I survived. They let me go because basically. What's weird about being in a small town, you go, Ernie, I know you. We had Mrs. Lane together. Shut up! Kick you. And I don't like the way, yeah, my mom gave you a ride home. Doesn't that count for something? Then I went to Phoenix, man. Phoenix was the hipster place. And I went to Mr. Lucky's, and it was country western upstairs, rock and roll downstairs. Well, by this time, I'd seen the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. I grew my hair out so that my hair went right over the top of my ear. It's there, right there. But that's enough. That's enough. The Cowboys were going to kill you. All right? And I had to time going into the nightclub just right. When the country started up again, I would sneak in and go down the stairs to get downstairs. And this got worse and worse. In fact, here's a little medley of songs that I think sums that up perfectly. 1968. Buffalo Springfield.
Something happened here.
Saw the JDs in the basement.
What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop. I read about some swirly guy who claims he just don't believe the fact. I wonder just how long the rest of us will hear of our milk and honey. They teach about some other real food. When you're running around my country, man, walking on the fight beside me. It's for running. Yeah, on the highway. Looking for adventure. And whatever comes our way. Born to be wild. Born to be wild.
It was tense times. And I noticed that most of you liked the country and hated the rock. Is that a fair assessment? Because it's going to get heavier in here. I'm sorry, man. If you don't take your top off, we're going to be so disappointed. I don't mean to point you out what we're running, but you just seem like you're about ready to show Prescott. Okay. That's him. Stuart, I'm sorry for that.
Walk, don't run.
Yeah. So, tense times, worn out by music. I just love this. And then, let me introduce the band for you. We got Jack Alvis over here on guitar. Him and I have played together for so long. In fact, he asked me, he said, how long have we played together? And I said, I don't know. And he said, I don't remember the year, but the first gig was at the Westward Ho, and Wonderful Russ punched David Nodder in the mouth. And to which I said, that was December 17th, 1977. And Jack says to me, how do you know that? And I said, because that was my first date with Kathy Radina, my wife, the mother of my children. Isn't that amazing? When you pegged it to that, I can remember that. So Jack and I go way back in the Raz Band, and we played many, many gigs where we've been asked to never come back. Next to him is a soulmate of mine, Danny Romero, the Blackjack Cowboy. He's from this area. In fact, he was born in Kingman. I wasn't born in Kingman. We both almost died on Route 66, all right? And if you come out to buy a book, and if you do buy a book, he'll sign it and tell you the story of how he almost died. I'm not going to tell you my story unless you beg. Man, if you tell the child. Rollin, right here, Rollin Woods, bass player. They've been playing together 20 years. And this is, I got to tell you, in band speak, this is unheard of.
Yeah.
This is for people to be this together this long. Go read a story about the breakup of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But God, they played great music together. Over here, Rooster Rob Mathias. Give that man a hand. He is the youngster in the group. He's the one who makes us look a little bit younger than, I think. Anyway, Rob, great to have you. Let's see, we got a couple more songs we wanted to do.
Where's that surf music, Bob?
Yeah. So, this was in 1966, we had a surfer cowboy war at Kingman. What happened was, remember when McCullough bought the London Bridge and brought it to Havasu and rebuilt it in the desert? We were like, what kind of a crazy guy would do that? Well, it started attracting, all of these people from California! Their kids were surfers. They had to be bussed into Kingman. And they got off the bus. And all those cowboys, the 3 cowboys that wanted to kick my ass, they wanted to kick theirs. All the way back to Havasu. In fact, the threats went around the school. And when they were getting ready to leave, they were going to kill these guys. I mean, they probably weren't, but they were really mean. And so the surfers from Havasu took off early and went down Perfume Pass in Kingman and went up into the mountains there, and car loads of cowboy high school students went down there to fight them. And the Kingman Police Department got the call, and the one patrol car took off. Her son was one of the ones that was going to kick them. She was so mad, she got like, Ernie, get the car right now. So that almost led to the surfer war. It was pretty tense there, okay? And but here's the secret. I loved the surf music. It was so cool. Let's give him a taste, Jack. Oh yeah. So the surf music gave way to another Southern California kind of sound, and I'm here to tell you that one of the all-time lyrics in the history of rock and roll involves our state. And here's the true story, and you'll never listen to the song again the same way. All right. Jackson Browne lived downstairs from members of the Eagles in an apartment complex in Los Angeles. And they tell the story of Jackson that he would put the T on and it would whistle, and then you do these chords. Okay? So he has this song because he went hitchhiking and he was in Arizona. He was in Flagstaff at a Dorwiener Schnitzel. And he had a lyric that she slowed down and he couldn't finish it. And Glenn Fry of the Eagles said, I know that second verse, and this is how it goes.
Down the road, trying to loosen my love, I could say sound of your wheels drive you crazy. Not enough, well, you still can. Don't even try to understand. All the place to take your stand. Take it easy. Well, I was standing on the corner in Winslow, Arizona. It was such a fine sight to see. There's a girl I know with a black band. Suddenly, take a look at me. Come on, baby, don't say me. I got to know what your sweet love is going to say. We may lose, we may win, but we will never be here again. So open up our collide and take it easy. Take it easy.
Yeah, a little on there, but that's it. Isn't that great? She was at a Dorina station. Trying to rhyme that. Red fry. Now, what's so weird is, there's a statue there now. It's like it's written in stone. Now, and here's the other thing that I love. This is what I love also about growing up in Arizona. I met the girl in the flatbed Ford. Phyllis Hawkins is her name. She's in Winslow. Her father's a doctor. She married to Mike Hawkins, who was I played against in the Little League in Flagstaff at the state championship. And he's married to the girl in the flatbed Ford. So, and then, small world, and don't believe a word I'm saying. Or her. Great story. Well, we've had a lot of fun here. You guys have been great. Here's how it's going to work. I brought True West magazines for everybody. Hope there's enough there for you to go around. They're free.
Get your kicks, Bob. Get your kicks.
Yeah. Lighten up. Here's how it's going to go. I'm out there to sign the books at $24.95, and I absolutely guarantee that if I sign your book, someday it'll be worth the cover price. All the pictures of all the things we talked about tonight, including the Dorina Schnitzel in Flagstaff, is in that book. All right? And we're going to end it tonight with the song that I think sums up everything we've had to say tonight. This version is by the Rolling Stones, and I have to give Mick Jagger a thumb nose because he sings Flagstaff, Arizona. Don't forget why. No, Big Slow. We Kingman finally gets a Kingman in a Rolling Stone song, and he blows it to Big Slow. I'm going to sing it correctly. Gents, let's do it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. You want to hear just one more that's a woman's choice? There'll be a snowball. And you don't have to talk. It's just a joke, man. We got one more, but if you got to get home, I understand. They need to get home. Okay, all right. Thanks, guys. You want to hear it?
Yeah.
Girls' Gym, Mojave County Union High School, or as we called it, Mucus. This song produced more offspring than any other 60s song. I have 2 beautiful children. Neither one is related to the song, but that's a different story. Gentlemen, play those chords.
1, 2, 3, 4.
She woke me up. She said, "Bob, what are you doing right now?" I said, "I got a math test tomorrow." Wasn't good on the pickup stuff, you may have noticed that. Couldn't see it. I'm on the freight train. And then she looked at me in the eyes and she said, "Roberto, you made me